Yeah, there's definitely lots and lots going on at the moment, which is really exciting. When is this coming out?
Are you going to give us an exclusive? Welcome to Connected Thinking, our series of chats where we sit down with standout voices from the world of marketing, where we unpack what's trending, what's shifting, and what's coming next. I'm Amelia, your host for today, and I head up the influencer and celebrity partnerships here at Connects. Today, I'm joined with Verity Park, founder of TBH, a leading influencer management agency that provides 360 representation for some of the UK's top talent. These include Hannah Lowther, Ellie, Middleton, and Food by Remi. As the driving force behind TBH, Verity has built a roster of 20 exclusive and 150 non-exclusive talent in just under 2 years, collectively reaching an audience of 25 million. Welcome, Verity. So to kick things off, let's get straight into it. And I would love to take it all the way back to when you first started in influencer marketing and talent management. What pushed you to start your own talent agency? And when was the moment that you knew it was the right move to do?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Pretty much all of my career has been influencer management. So I started at Gleam in 2017 as a talent coordinator. I represented Grace Beverley, Olivia, Neill, Naomi Jenez.
So you had Grace Beverley and Olivia Neill really in their infancy of like that big booming moment where
Exactly.
they catapulted into like the influencer world, right?
Absolutely, where it was a massive growth stage for them and there was so much opportunity to do so much. So a big part of what I did at Gleam was start up TALA with Grace, which took up a significant portion of my day, of my time. And then book deals, podcasts, working hard, hardly working, which is now working hard, I think. All of that amazing wider project stuff. I guess it's fair to say that 90 to 95% of my career has been managing talent, which has been amazing because for me, I have never had a moment where I am clock watching at work, which is a crazy thing to say in what was coming up to a decade long of working. But that's because the influencer management space is so fast paced. So I did 5 years at Gleam. And then I had started a candle business on the side. And through all my experience building direct to consumer businesses with a side of influencer marketing, for various reasons, I decided that I wanted to carry on with influencer marketing. And the reason I did was because I started content. So I started a TikTok page and I started wanting to democratize knowledge within the influencer space, which is what is essentially my mission now, the TBH mission now. All the team at TBH are on that mission with me. I found that when I was at Gleam, a lot of what we were doing unintentionally was gatekeeping knowledge in the influencer space, not because we were intending to, but because we were the first of our kind and we were representing the biggest talent. And therefore, there was this whole subsection of creators who didn't have access to the information they needed to be able to price themselves properly or negotiate on their own behalf or just manage themselves and build sustainable careers in the space, branch out into podcasting, branch out into, books or wherever else they went to go or wherever else it made sense for them to go strategically. I started this TikTok page and it turned out that it became clear quite quickly that lots of people wanted this information. I then decided to launch the non-exclusive roster, which is all about democratizing knowledge in the influencer space and giving access to smaller creators or emerging creators. And off the back of that, big creators were coming to me and asking for management. TBH really naturally formed. I am very lucky to say we have done, minimal outreach for creators. It's only creators that we think, yeah, you're doing something really cool or you're saying something really interesting, who we would outreach to for management. Actually, we found that a lot of the creators have come to us. And because of that big gap in knowledge, in terms of the knowledge I have from working at Gleam and the knowledge that lots of people don't have, we're able to add really significant and immediate growth to creators that we choose to work with. And it's so special to be able to have such an impact on creators' careers, particularly creators who we think are doing something really exciting.
What a journey. I guess going back to the candle business, do you think that taught you, I want to be a CEO and like a brand founder and talking about things like look and feel and tone of voice? Is that what like excited you after doing the candle business?
Yeah, I would say so. I think building something or creating something from scratch really made me excited. I found that at Gleam. Creating TALA with Grace was one of the most exciting things I did. And because it felt like we were really building something and on that journey. And even being at Gleam was so exciting to me because we were building something collectively. So I've always been entrepreneurial, and I feel like my team are all entrepreneurial. I want it to be that way because I want everyone to bounce off each other and get really excited. And I feel like when we do, I want all the team to be involved in the business strategy for that reason, because I want our team to be entrepreneurial because I need them to also be excited to create brands and businesses with the talent.
I love championing female bosses and entrepreneurs. So I would love to know, as a female, what's been your biggest learning curve and also your biggest win in the industry as a female founder?
I've struggled with the fact that as a female founder, I underpromise and overdeliver.
Okay.
And I think that's my natural state. I have found that often it's a tendency for male counterparts to overpromise and occasionally underdeliver. And I have had that experience working with people. And I'm not saying that's everyone, but I think it's aligned with that approach where, you know how for job applications, men are more likely to apply where they don't have the relevant experience, where women will only apply when they have evidence of the relevant experience. And I think it's a similar thing. But we lose out on business. And I sometimes, because I will not do that. Like, I am never going to overpromise to a talent. I will only ever underpromise and overdeliver. But I think for me, a learning there is that that's okay. Like, I might lose out on the business initially up front, but I will get that repeat business because people are, when they do work with us, we're only ever exceeding their expectations.
Do you hate being called a female founder, or are you just a founder?
I'm not offended by being called a female founder. And because I do think there are differences.
For sure.
I get the CEO, female boss, all that sort of stuff. I get why people are against that. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy to be called it because that is what I am.
I love that. You are the face of your business and you are the face of your content and your podcast. How do you balance being the face of the business, but also be behind the scenes and building it and talking to, I mean, I don't know if you have like a finance director on your team and like that kind of side of it that people don't always traditionally see. How do you balance doing both?
With great difficulty. I think I find they're two different brains. I find that my creating content brain is, requires space. It requires creativity. It requires time. And the business side of things requires pace and integration and not a great deal of creativity, kind of the other side of my brain. So I find balancing them really, really hard. It's also worth saying that I do have help. Like, I'm not doing all of this by myself because I feel like I look at other founders sometimes, you look at the influencers, creators, and you're thinking, how are they doing all of that? I think the other thing that's worth saying is it's never been perfect to me. I always look at it and I'm like, that's not good enough. That needs to be better. This needs to be better. And it's all been a journey. I think when I look back on the content I used to post, I feel distressed. Like, it's awful. Like, that's obviously me being dramatic, but I'm not proud of it. And even content now, to me, it's still not perfect. Mm-hmm. For me, the talent management side of the business, there's always room for improvement, but I am incredibly proud of how that looks. Like, that is top tier management.
Yeah.
And the content and the educational information we're putting out is top tier. Our content needs work. And I think I want it to be continually evolving, but ultimately, like, I'm not a content creator. I'm just using it as a vehicle to talk about the good stuff that we're doing on the talent management side.
You're recently really championing your team being in front of the camera as well. Is that easy to do? Are your team happy to put themselves out there, and so it's not all heavily relying on yourself being the face? Like, how do they approach being in front of the camera?
Well, some like it and some don't. So obviously those that don't like it are in no way obliged to do it. my team tend to be on the side of wanting to create content. So it hasn't been difficult. What I find interesting is other founders have said to me, what are you doing? Like, why are you getting your team in front of the camera? Why are you doing that? Like, you're putting yourself at risk. But I love my team. I want the absolute best for them. I want them to build their personal brands. If they then go off to use their personal brand, then amazing. Love that for them.
And it's how you started. So it's very likely that they want to be mentored or work exactly the way you do, which is really nice.
I just think a podcast, for example, my podcast, Lifting the Lid, I wanted it to be really conversational, silly, fun. I wanted it to reflect office conversations, office culture, the conversations that we're truly having behind the scenes. And that is exactly what it is. So rather than just a podcast of me, chewing people's ear off for an hour every week, I just thought, let's make it dynamic. Let's make it interesting. Let's raise the personal brands of my amazing talent managers.
So let's move on to some brand collaborations. From podcast exclusive to brand launches, we'd love to know what is coming up next that you're most excited about with TBH and also the talent that you're working with. Is there anything that you can tell us about that's not NDA'd or embargoed that we can share with our audience?
Yeah, there's definitely lots and lots going on at the moment, which is really exciting. So I guess from a TBH perspective.
Are you going to give us an exclusive?
So on the TBH side of things, we've got a lot of big changes coming. A big focus has been our non-exclusive roster, but we have made the incredibly sad decision to close that chapter.
Okay.
That's always been about lifting the lid on the influencer space, sharing knowledge. And I think, we're coming up with a better way to do that, which is probably going to be a 2026 project. Or we're going to work on it this side of the year, but it's going to be a 2026 project where we launch it. We're going to be, again, taking on a freelancer to up the level of our content. So we're able to provide more free educational content all around the influencer space and creators and the creator industry. In terms of kind of what's going on with the talent, there's so much. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I'm like racking my brains here. Like, where do we start? We've got Hannah Lowther's live tour at the end of the year, which is really, really exciting. We've got 5 different shows, which will be our first live tour with the talent.
Obviously, we're seeing talent move away from like just traditional ad posting on social. And I think your agency really in particular champions moving on beyond digital. So books, podcast tours, etc., theatre. How do you support your talent evolution with moving into a different realm, whether that is a book launch or, as you say, Hannah doing her live show? It's obviously something you really champion. So how do you make that transition? And also, what books have been really successful or what live shows have been really successful that you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's such an important part of talent management. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily need to do something with every single creator. I think it's about choosing the right thing to do and also being conscious of the talent capacity and what actually makes sense for them. We've got to take it right back to the data. A massive part of what TBH does is we are constantly tracking data for talent. We do strategies with them. So at 6 months, we do a strategy with them, which is informed only by data. We don't write strategies for talent unless we have data, because I don't see, I know lots of management will like write a strategy for a talent as sort of part of the pitch for.
Based on their wish list or like what they think or want what they should be working towards. Yeah.
Yeah. Like without speaking to the talent or without seeing the data. And we don't do that. We create strategies based off the talent capacity, the data, which is the main thing, and what the talent want.
How long does a book deal take, would you say?
To get it actually published, about 18 months, I'd say.
Wow.
It can be quicker than that.
And it's quite expensive as well.
For the talent, you mean?
The way I'm coming at it is there's been a lot of failed influencer books.
Right, I see, yeah.
So it's like, you've got to know that the investment's going to be right for the publisher, but also as well as the for the influencer as well, right? So I guess how do you know, or what do you see in a talent when you're like, okay, they're going to be great for something commercial, like a book launch, for example?
It's an investment for talent in terms of time, for sure. And that is something we also strategize in. Like, okay, if you're going to be writing this book, you're going to be very, very distracted, let's say, for at least a period of 6 months where you're writing the book and you're then promoting the book, which is often a really good idea, even if, we have to pull them off other things that we're working on or take a bit of a pause. But that's the biggest investment, I'd say, for talent. In terms of how we know it's a commercial idea for them, I think lots of creators will come to me and say, I want to write a book. But the question is, why? What are you saying? Are you who people go to for that topic?
I have a question for you about how you work with brands or clients. I would love to know, like, what are your biggest bugbears when it comes to doing a collaboration with an agency or a brand manager? And how can we rectify that or do better to make the campaign as seamless as possible and keep you guys happy, the influencer happy, but also the client?
Good question.
Put you on the spot there.
No, that's fine.
I'm sure there's loads.
I'm like, get my list out. No, you guys are amazing to work with, is the first thing worth saying. But one of our biggest bugbears, which really annoys us, is when it's like 24-hour turnaround, like, we need this in 3 seconds, give us talent names ASAP. We send the talent names over, crickets.
Wow.
And it's like, you've got to work with us, at least say something back, at least to even tell us you've received them.
And feedback of why they might not be right.
Yeah.
For that campaign. Okay, interesting.
So I think that's a really big one because it happens so much. And then the other bugbear, which is quite a specific one, is when we go about negotiating the fee. We've negotiated back and forth about calls, everything. The fee's been negotiated. We've got it. We've got the package down. And then they're like, right, can you take it to the talent? Okay, we'll take it to the talent. The talent's, either happy or they're like, okay, I like the brand, so let's just push forward with this one. We go back and we're like, okay, we're accepted, we're ready to go. And then the brand goes, or the agency goes, okay, fine, we need to get approval on this. And it's like, okay, fine, but you could have told us that before we've gone to the talent and got everything approved and told them that it's a done deal. Just literally just give us the heads up that it's not approved.
That's so frustrating.
Because it means that we've either got the talent's hopes up or we've got a yes from them when it's maybe, not a preferred yes. And it makes things, it's not a nice way of working.
It feels a little bit dirty in terms of like the money, like it's all down on the financials. Yeah, that's really disappointing to hear. Do you have any positive things that you really like, a standout thing when an agency does something for you or a brand does something for you that's like, oh, that's really nice they did that, or really great they did that?
Yeah. The main thing I'd say is when brands are coming to us and saying, we've got this budget, we want to be featured in X podcast, or we want to do something with this creator, we want to reach their audience, this is why we want to reach their audience. Can you, the creator, tell us how they want to, rather than rigid briefs? And I find that working together in that sort of way means that we can come up with something a lot more exciting.
And it will perform better as well if we're both collaborating. And you're leaning on the creator as the expert as well, because they know what is going to drive the most performance metrics or the biggest talkability. So I completely agree, like leaning on you guys as the experts rather than being like, here's a script, here's your money, crack on.
Exactly. And we do it with lots of brands where we'll like go for quarterly brunches or whatever, and they'll say, look, these are our priorities. And sometimes we'll even just lock in a 12-month deal, and then they'll then come to us each quarter being like, these are our priorities. Yeah. Is it talkability? Is it clicks? Whatever it is, depending on the brand. And then the talent will be like, okay, great, let's do this. Or the brand will be like, actually, can you do this, this, and this? And yeah, it just means that we can be more creative because we've got the admin out the way. And it just allows creative marketing to be what it should be, which is fun, creative, and accessing the audience in a way that the audience wants to be accessed.
And the proof is in the pudding. I love it when like a client will be quite descriptive or share a script and it's like, okay, let's do it this way and see how it forms, and then seeing that data come through and that click-through rate. And it's like, yes, I'm so glad we listened to that influencer, but that is why we are paying them. It's to lean on them and for their knowledge. So I'm a big advocate for long-term partnerships, and I've had the privilege of working with some creator partnerships for 3 years on a monthly retainer. So I know how successful they can be. Is this something you're striving for when you're talking to a brand for the first time, or are you more about that test and learn approach from a one-off? Like, how are you approaching conversations like that with a brand or an agency?
You've worked on amazing long-term partnerships. I love what you guys do. And yes, it's all about long-term partnerships for us. It's like I was saying before, it just means that you can be so much more creative. You can engage the audience in the way they want to be engaged. And how we do it really, really varies. I think a lot of the time it will start with smaller partnerships, which I completely get. It will be like a bit of a test and learn. And if the talent is doing really well and we want to prove that we're going to add value too, so we're fine with doing those test and learn partnerships. I know the talent that I work with are amazing. I know they add value. So if we need to prove that first before we work on a long-term partnership, no problem. And ultimately, what everyone wants out of a long-term partnership is we want it to be fair for the value the talent's going to bring, but we also want it to be good value and easier for the brand.
Grittier response from me is financially as well. We get better deals because we're not paying off those one-off campaign prices that are traditionally higher than what you'd get at a retainer rate.
Yeah.
And our CPMs are better, our CPEs are better. We just see from a data perspective, a lot better investment when we do like a 3-month or a 6-month partnership, which is a nice segue into a question about data. Are you seeing a rise in brands KPIing your talent or click-through rates being really important, selling techniques being really imperative for your talent? Or are you seeing more of like focus on what the creative is and what the storytelling is? Or is it a mixture of both at the minute?
I'd say it's a really big mixture. Like it really depends on the brand and the agency. Like sometimes we'll get different agencies for the same brand with different KPIs and objectives. So it really, really depends. I think it's all of those things that you just said. The one thing I am seeing a lot of brands wanting to access talent communities in real life. So we have a lot of creators who have communities, like in real life communities. So we have the Club, we have Unmasked with Ellie Middleton, we have Sober Girl Society with Millie Gooch. We have lots of creators with communities. We also have Netball Noir with Michelle.
Can't forget anyone.
No, my brain is taking over, yeah. So we have lots of brands who are wanting to, get their products into the hands of consumers and get their brand sponsors or their brand affiliates in front of their consumers, get feedback from their consumers and have that real life feeling alongside content. I found that that's something I've really been noticing. And even in like brunches and breakfasts and whatever, which I go to with brands, it's a question that's coming up. Do your creators have communities? How can we access their communities in real life? Can we do an event with the talent? It's even if they don't have communities, it's can we do an event with them?
And that is also awareness driving. And it might not be, how many click-throughs to a web or to a product, but it is still generating brand awareness within these communities. So it's still doing an amazing job. But I think from my perspective, I'm seeing less pressure on the data side of things from our clients for influencers, because when we talk about someone like Tasha, for example, that we work with on eBay, like we know her audience inside out now because we've worked with her for 3 years. We know which posts are going to get clicks. We know which posts are going to make a product or a style sell out. I think what you said, but brands are now pushing out against like during COVID, we weren't doing IRL. So it's now, putting the shift on something different, doing the run clubs, doing the workshops. And I think, that's pivotal to how we do influencer marketing today. So I think that's a really good shout out, and amazing to see your talent doing such great things in the community. To round this off, I would love to do some quick fire questions with you. My first question is, do you have a favorite book or podcast you'd recommend? Obviously, Lifting the Lid, that's coming back very soon, I hear.
Of course, Lifting the Lid. I would massively recommend Your Boss Era by Leadership Heather, or Heather Elkington.
Mm-hmm.
She's a friend of mine and she is incredibly inspirational. She talks all about leadership and management and how to be a good manager. And I've just bought it for a couple of my team members. It's been really helpful for me to read. I just think it's such an amazing resource. If you're managing anyone, if you're leading a team, I think it's a must read.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
My dad probably gave me the best piece of advice when I was starting the business. I always think when I was younger, I had a tendency to not be sure on my decisions and not be certain on my decisions. And I'd always want to rely on someone else to give me their opinion and to make a decision based on what their opinion is. But my dad's advice was, the most important thing you can do is just make the decision, which feels really simple, but that has always stuck in my head, because the idea being not all decisions you make are going to be right and not all decisions you make are going to be wrong, but the worst thing you can do is stall. You just need to move forward, make a decision and learn from that decision. And if it's wrong, you'll learn. And if it's right, brilliant.
Oh, I love that. Shout out to your dad for that.
Shout out to Nick Park.
Thanks so much, Verity, for joining us on Connected Thinking. It's been a pleasure to have you and lifting the lid on all things influencer marketing. You can follow Verity on her socials. Do you want to shout them out?
At Verity Park for my personal socials and at TBH Talent on everything else.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much for coming.